Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about spirituality versus the church. Have you ever really thought about that before? What is the difference between religion and spirituality? I have this conversation all the time with myself and my husband and my inner circle, but I love to hear your perspective on this, Georgann. So luckily, I do have a guest on the show that's going to be talking about this topic specifically and what it really means to her. So Georgann, why don't you go ahead and fully introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Mitzi. It's nice to be here with you. Yes, I am Georgann Low, also known as Bunny, and that's the title of my second book is uh, um, Resurrecting Bunny, a Wild Child's Pilgrimage. And as you can tell, I'm of the age where I was kind of not kind of, I was a big time flower child. I was a hippie. Born in Colorado, but moved to San Francisco and New York and back and forth in Santa Fe. And anyway, I really explored a whole new world in those times. And so what I had known and sort of given up on earlier on was my Episcopalian upbringing. And I liked church. I really liked it. I liked the feeling of Jesus. I liked Jesus, and then I got older and I didn't like that white man sitting on the throne type thing. So I gave it all up and and became a yogi meditator. So that's when I began to, as I say, resurrect myself, because I'd gotten pretty far out and unhealthy with drugs and lifestyle choices. Anyway, I'll let you break in here because I could go on and on.
No, you're perfectly fine. I think one of the biggest things that I've always separated spirituality and religion and church is the difference is that with religion and church, there's rules. You know what I mean? You have to follow all of these rules just so you can qualify to go to heaven, just so you can qualify to be accepted and to be loved and all this other stuff. And for me, it baffles me, absolutely baffles me, right? So what I learned is that with spirituality, it's nothing like that. There's no rules. It's only love. You know what I mean? It's pure love. And when you have that pure love, your spirit responds differently. You respond differently. You understand things differently, and your spirit really guides you, and you really become connected differently, And I was reading your website. I have it actually up right here, and you state that sometimes there's a space and there's this clarity of discernment when you are able to actually connect with your spirit. And I love that statement. I do. I honestly love that statement because for me, I say I have a spiritual walk with God. That's what I claim, because I don't see it as a religion. I don't see it as rules. Like for me, I don't like that concept of religion. It just bothers me. And I think it bothers a lot of people because it makes them feel like they have to jump through hoops and go through all these obstacle courses to find that acceptance from God. And they make it more difficult than what it really is. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my opinion. How do you feel about that?
Oh, we are on the same page with that. We are of one mind with that, because the other thing that really gets me about religion is then people they not only can boss you around, which I've never liked, but they can tell you what's right. Like, like say, for instance, the issue or the fact of homosexuality. I have a beautiful gay son, and he's been married for years to a lovely man. Anyway, the fact that there's some kind of religion or some aspect of Christianity that is so ego driven. So it's not Christ driven. Shouldn't be called Christianity. It's driven by male ego or fearful egos that say, oh, anybody different from us, oh no, we can't have them. Oh no, homosexuals or people who get abortions or whatever. I mean, where is Christ in that? Where is Christ in that? Christ is in people, as you say, who work every day, like every hour, every minute, to remember to love. Because I forget it all the time. I went on a walk this morning and I, got kind of snarky with people getting in my way. Isn't that
Hey,
terrible?
it's not just with walking, it's with driving. I
I
think people
know.
get triggered, and I
Yeah.
think that's when we realize that we're human. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're bound to make mistakes, and it's okay. It's when you don't learn from those mistakes that when it becomes a problem,
Mhm.
or when you continue to allow excuses to make it acceptable for you to continue to make that into a habit, that's when I feel like it's a true, true problem. But for us to make mistakes, it's just natural. At the end of the day, God always says, let me see your heart and I'll tell you who you are. And if your heart is pure with love and joy and have that sincerity, I mean, no one can judge you. Honestly, I feel like no one can judge someone because they don't know someone's intentions. And I think intentions have a big, big, big core into how we move and how we live and how we act. And if our intentions are not right, well, it creates a ripple effect of that in our lives. But that's just my opinion. What do you
No,
think?
no, I totally agree. Um, it that sort of brings to mind. I love that you remind me that I'm not perfect. You'd think I'd know it by now.
No, I think everybody needs that reminder. No one's
Yeah, I
perfect. And if
know.
you think you are, well, then have a reality check.
Well, we keep trying, not that I'm trying to be perfect, but I think trying to live the love that I know, that I feel, that I seek in the middle of the night when I'm scared of what's going on in the world. I can just get so quiet within a breath, which is my meditation practice, to come into the breath and to feel that connection. It's almost like between the breaths or between the thoughts is where God resides. Because
I like
otherwise,
that.
otherwise
No,
we're just
I
thinking.
understand exactly what you're saying. There's this space that belongs to him, and no matter how crowded our mind can get and how chaotic it can get, in reality, he's just right there. So believe me, how you're describing is I understand. If nobody else understands, well, you know what? Think a little harder, y'all.
Well, and the other thing, Mitzi, is that when I judge people, which I do all the time, uh, when I judge someone and I think, oh, how could they do that? And then something taps me on the head and it says, well, you've done that, or you've done something kind of like that, and then I go,
Yeah.
oh, that's right. Well, I forgot.
Right, like, there goes my hypocrite side coming out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I think everybody has that hypocriteness inside of us where we judge too soon, or we're willing to point the fingers at others. But I think it just comes down to us being human and us being trying to diminish it more in our lives. If we're able to recognize those bad habits within ourselves and those bad things that we know are bad morally, then I think that's when it truly makes us realize that it's a work in progress. We're so instinctively to judge, we're so instinctively to complain and, not to see the good or just to be ungrateful sometimes or even greedy at times, because I've been seeing that a lot with the pandemic and just with, people being fearful of the unknown, because at this point, we really don't know what to expect with life at this point, and it can really be boggling, and I think when we are able to just take a second and meditate and breathe and focus on ourselves, on our spirit, we realize that we have enough, everything's okay, don't worry, you know what I mean? We start to really put ourselves in this calm and this joy of this peace. And I feel like when you really connect with your spirit, you really are able to come back to reality sooner, you know what I mean? Ground yourself versus flying away and drifting away into our fears and our anxieties.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and it's so easy to do. And we are living in very challenging times. It's very scary. But if we can keep coming back into that space that we're talking about, that the moment, this moment right here,
Mhm.
none of the things that we fear are happening right now. So if we
Yes.
can keep coming back, it's like a source, it's like an ever burgeoning river or stream of abundance and well-being in the moment. And we can find that through, as you say, meditation, or just reminding ourselves, even just simple practice of when you first wake up, going into that space before you get all jacked up about what you have to do and who you have to see and what might happen. Just go into that space in the breath, just momentarily, just to say, oh, here I really am, and this is good. This is good. What we have right now, what we're afraid of, is scary. I mean, it's out there, and the media, we get fed a lot of fearsome stuff. And we have to know what's going on. I agree, but we don't have to indulge in fear mongering and feeling like there's no way out.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. And it's just crazy how some people are allowing themselves to indulge into it. I'm not sure if it's just because they like the way that feels, or
Hmm.
if it's just because they're stuck in that routine. However, I think it's important that the more curious and the more we question our surroundings and our thoughts and what's happening really, then it gives us a way to really find the real understanding that we're truly seeking. And I guess when you realized at that point that you were done serving some white man on a pedestal, how hard was that for the people around you to accept your journey?
Well, I think, like, for instance, I was thinking this morning, my book, Resurrecting Bunny, A Wild Child's Pilgrimage, has something in it to offend everyone.
Gotta love
Because
it.
if you're a very, if like, I go to the Episcopal Cathedral now, and I volunteer as a spiritual director and with the kids singing and stuff. But there are people there who would not like my book, because my book says, you don't even have to call it Jesus Christ. It exists, whatever it's in us, it's with us, it's love.
Mhm.
And of course that bothers some people. The conventional Christian belief is, no, you have to be baptized, you have to be, you have to, be a follower of Christ, which I consider myself very powerfully to be. But I can also see the beauty in all religions, and I can bring the joy that gives me, because Christ said to us, the kingdom of God is within. What I do, you can do. And I believe that. I believe that with my whole soul. My whole experience in life has shown me that. So I think that my book offends people, and people have a problem with my being so, able to say I'm with Christ is in me, Christ is with me, um, because they've given up on religion a long time ago, and it's not hip in certain, sort of, who are these people, right? I think that um, they're sort of intellectuals and stuff. They think they're in their minds all the time, not their hearts so much. But so the other people who kind of gave me a hard time with it. No, those are all the people. Well, a lot of people have given me a hard time, but that's the beauty of getting older, is I could give a
Hey, it's
flying.
yeah. I absolutely agree. And what I realize is that people who get offended are the ones that just can't perceive the way that you do. You know what I mean? Because I feel that we all have a way of trying to understand stuff so that we can So it makes sense for us, so we put it in categories, we put it in boxes, we put it in these sections just so that it makes sense. And when we hear somebody else explain something like spirituality and having a relationship with God in an unorthodox way, and they don't have those boxes there, you know what I mean? They don't have those extra spaces where you can add a box in your thought process, you know what I mean? They don't have that option. They're so narrow-minded with blinders on that they just choose to perceive life and God or certain things and people or deities or however people want to label it to be, in a way that just how they accept it, and it's frustrating because people like yourself and myself who are so open and we have a different understanding of Christ, and we see him more of love and with love, and because love is powerful in itself, and people don't understand love, and when people don't understand love or they see love in a certain way, then they can't understand God either, you know what I mean? So it makes it difficult, and it makes it like all this loop-de-loop, because people will argue with you over an understanding that they do have, but the way that you're describing it just doesn't make sense to them. It's crazy.
Oh, you're such a smart woman. I'm so glad to get to know you. I'm really glad you're out there.
Thank you, thank you. I had to realize this at a very young age, because I grew up as a flower child. I was one that loved life and loved everything, and no one could do no wrong and give me a hug because I love you already. I was one of those type of child, and my parents literally tried to take that away from me, and to the point where I conformed my mind to the way that they wanted me to, just so that I can make them happy. And it got to the point where I couldn't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Where I realized, like, I'm killing myself inside with the wrong understanding and the wrong way of living and the wrong way of being, just because it makes two people happy and whoever else makes them happy. You know what I mean? And I couldn't live my life like that anymore. So I like separated myself from my family, and I searched for a better understanding in the way that I knew was right in my heart. So once I found that out, I realized, no one can tell me anything because I know what I know now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the inner work. It's the work on yourself that has to be done. And people who are like, there are a lot of politicians, for instance, who not just politicians, but people who are so sure they have the right way. And there's
Yeah.
only one way, and it's their way. We had a former president like that. And to be that sure is like really signing your death warrant. It's like to be that sort of stuck is a very sad thing. And you talk about openness, there'd be so much love and joy in people's lives if they could just get past that wanting to be right. That's their ego. They're ego driven. And
Yeah.
I'm truly sad for them, because they might be wonderful people underneath all that stuckness.
Yeah. I think that's I love your perspective too, because you say it in a way that's so perfectly understood, because I'm just thinking like, man, I mean, if people would just rip off that band-aid, it would be so much easier to enjoy and to just enjoy life, stop being so stubborn.
Yeah, it is stubbornness. It is very, very definitely stubbornness.
And I guess to get back on the topic of spirituality, a lot of times people say that there's gifts when it comes to spirituality, that sometimes you can tap into certain gifts, and one of the biggest controversies that I've heard out there is that when you seek yourself through the path of God, through worship or meditation or prayer, however people want to identify it as, that you learn that you have certain spiritual gifts. And then that's like the good way or the positive way, because they're natural, versus the ones who seek those gifts.
Mm.
that read books and to try to tap into that. And you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So for me, in my perspective, I feel that the ones that tap into it and search for a specific type and they try to find, like, let's say reading cards or reading people, or you know what I mean, things of that nature, it's not coming from a good place from my perspective. I mean, what would you have to say about when it comes to spiritual gifts?
Um, I really agree with you in that. Well, what comes to my mind is I'm a singer and I have been for years. I'm a jazz singer. And nowadays I am also reading from my books. So I might read even a prayer or just a way to bring the audience into a kind of more reflective, interiorized place. Um, um, and then sing a song, maybe a jazz standard, maybe a song that I wrote that I believe what I'm singing. So I've been a singer for years and years and years. And I used to just kind of have an overlay of, oh, I think I'll try and sing like Billie Holiday. I tried that for a while, or Ella Fitzgerald, or this person or that. And that's what you do when you first start out with something, because you don't have your own voice. And for me, my voice is spiritual. It's been something I have sought ever since I was a hippie at Love-Ins in Southern California, wandering around, just seeking my own voice. So my own things that I had to say that were real, and my own true voice to sing with. So in that example is my gift coming out of me for other people. And it's a gift. It's not something where I want something. Well, I would like people to clap actually, but but even if they don't, there's a more powerful, there's this, my spirit is behind me. So that's all I need, is to know that.
Yeah. I think that that's right. Is that when people have that understanding of knowing that your spirit is with you in what you're doing, then you're doing it for good. You know what I mean? You're doing it for the right reasons. I think it's when you know that your spirit's not standing behind you, it's your own self, your own ego, your own self-driven motives, then that's when it becomes bad, and that's from my understanding and from my perspective.
Well, it doesn't really help people when it's not coming from a real place in you, when it's coming from sort of a neurotic part of yourself. um, it's not as helpful to others. And I think most people I know, anyway, are trying to make a difference in the world. You're trying to do that, Mitzi. You're trying to make a difference in the world. And I
Mhm.
applaud you for that. And you're saying your truth, and that is that it's because your spirit is involved, your soul is involved in this.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
exactly. Thank you for that. It's because when it's involved, it lasts longer. You know what I mean? What your purpose comes to you. It's not about manifesting. It's just about living life and doing what you know is best in your heart. And I think there's a difference there that people don't necessarily understand when it comes, because I feel like there's so many people now that are confusing doing what you should be doing on purpose with your spirit, walking with what you should be doing, versus just walking to walk. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Well, I think so. Yeah, it's kind of being a poser, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh,
That's a nice, good word.
yeah, I mean, because I know that because I've certainly done enough of it. But it's until it becomes real to you, and as I say, I can't say enough how important meditation. I started meditating when I was 28. And of course, I'm still not a great meditator or anything. And I raised 3 children. So, during that time, it was like maybe 2 minutes I'd have in the mornings. But I kept with it. And it's just showing up again and again, kind of saying, if you want to put it in religious terms, I want to be with you, God. I want to be with you, Divine Mother. Or, um, or just in Buddhist terms, because they don't have higher deities like that, just being, I want to be in truth. I want to be in spaciousness. I want to be in that place where I wish good for all human beings, all sentient beings. Anyway, there, it doesn't matter how you say it, but it's coming into that space, that intention again of saying, I want to be right. Right in the sense of being virtuous, or um, with my soul, with my God-given soul. I don't know, I could just blabber on about it, but I'm just saying, I guess I'm just trying to say that meditation for me has always been my my backbone.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be the only one that says that. Believe me, I've heard it a few times before where meditation always has been key to people to really center themselves and to really get into a place where they can actually focus, and I think if it's for people, then I mean, if it's for you specifically, then continue, you know what I mean? I think if it works for you, then why stop? Try something else that may not work for you, but may work for somebody else, and I think it's an avenue that really helps put you into alignment, and I
Mhm.
think that's the thing that we are all searching for. We're all searching for that alignment because we all get discombobulated some way, somehow, and we allow the pressures of life or society or your environment or even yourself to get you out of place and in this discomfort where you start to feel like, oh, this blah, sometimes where you're just like, ugh, I don't want to do nothing, and it's common, and I think it comes down to the fact that we all need to remember we are all mere humans. We're just human beings. Whatever label you want to identify yourself as, it doesn't matter because we're all human beings. We all have breath in our lungs and we're all just trying to survive and figure this out. And we all don't know what we're doing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? We all
yeah, I
don't know
do.
what we're doing. We're all just going by that instinct and that gut feeling and what's inside of us and what our heart tells us. And I think once people realize that, then people will have a happier, joyful life, and they shouldn't wait until they turn 80 years old until
Mm-mm.
they finally feel peace. Like, no, you can get it when you're 2, or you can get it whenever
Yeah.
you want to join that cloud, go ahead.
Yeah, that is so very true. And when you're speaking, I hear you saying, we are, each one is a separate human being, but we're all one. There's a oneness about being human. It's more than just being sisters and brothers. It's like, I don't know, there's something, I guess it's the life force that just flows through all of us, and the soul power and the love. um it's all there, and it's all at our fingertips. We can use that, but if we're lost in our own think mind that's telling us all kinds of damn things, then we can't access that, we can't find it, because you have to be quiet to sense it, to feel
Yeah,
it.
you do. You really do. You have to have that moment of silence. And not a lot of people can deal with silence. So I think once you are able to manage silence, you're it's just free fall from there. You're ready to go.
That's brilliant. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're right.
And
It's
I guess
managing.
to start wrapping up the show, what would be some great advice that you can possibly give myself or my audience?
Well, you just led me right into it by saying that beautiful thing about silence, if you can manage silence, because I think we're all afraid of silence.
Mhm.
It's like scary. It's like, ooh, what's going to happen now? So when you go out to a club or a bar or a restaurant, there's always got to be a television on, always got to be a television on, something going on, something
Mhm.
demanding our attention. No, turn it all off. Listen to the silence. There's so much power and peace in silence.
Yeah, there truly is. It's a different type of feeling where you just have to experience it to really be able to embrace it. It's not a bad thing, and if you do have a bad perspective of silence, I dare you to put your foot into it. You know what I mean? You never know. You never know what might happen. But Georgianne, this has been such a great conversation, a great
Yeah.
sharing of perspective. I truly did not know what to expect going into this conversation, but coming out, I just want to hug you. You are so awesome. Well, that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know more about Georgianne, you just go to mitzythinking.com under special guests. You'll find her link to her website so you can find out more about Georgianne, everything about Georgianne, and contact her if you're trying to figure out your own spiritual walk or you're not sure exactly how to go about it. Hit her up and I'm sure she'll gladly assist you on this journey because nobody should walk it alone. And if you feel alone, don't feel alone because everyone's or mostly everyone's trying to figure it out too. Alrighty, y'all take care. Bye.